They formed circles hand in hand, and appearing to have lost all control over their senses, continued dancing, regardless of the bystanders, for hours together in wild delirium, until at length they fell to the ground in a state of exhaustion. They then complained of extreme oppression, and groaned as if in the agonies of death, until they were swathed in cloths bound tightly round their waists, upon which they again recovered and were made free from complaint until the next attack. The dancing plagues of Europe. The primary one we'll be talking about today caused an outbreak in the city of Aix-la-Chapelle. This dancing plague would continue and reoccur for centuries in Europe, causing small outbreaks in neighboring towns. To this day, no one is sure what caused this outbreak, but there are many theories, and today on Historical Quarrels, first we will explore the accounts and records of each dancing plague outbreak, and then we will deep dive into what some call the earliest outbreak of mass hysteria ever recorded. So strap on your dance shoes and get ready to quite literally dance your feet off in today's Historical Quarrel. Welcome back to Historical Quarrels. I am your host, Quarrel Daddy, Tyler Eckhardt. And that's right, I'm calling myself Quarrel Daddy now. That is a nickname that was given to me by Mike Ritz, a listener of the show. And I'm gonna keep it because I like it. So you're gonna call me Quarrel Daddy now. I'm your fucking Quarrel Daddy. Anyways, I need to kick us off today with a slight bummer of an announcement. Bed Bath & Beyond has officially closed in Orem, and I no longer have easy access to high-quality bedroom sheets and gadgets. And this has left me a little depressed, so I wanted to share some fond memories I had at this Bed Bath & Beyond in Orem. 'Twas a summer night, when perchance my newly espoused wife and I stumbled upon Bed Bath & Beyond. For lo, we had acquired, through our wedding registry, a considerable discount on many items there. And 'twas there we first made its purchase of our bed linen. And yea, we did put that linen to work many times over. So much so, it became ruptured. But alas, Bed Bath & Beyond did take care of useth, and offered us a method, to return the linen that had become torn through the sheer might of our love-making. So thank ye, Bed Bath & Beyond and Orem, for the wonderful times. You shall be missed. Okay, that is all. Thank you. For all of you who stuck around for that and didn't skip it, thank you. You are the real ones. And, that's, you're the audience that I'm doing this show for, and I love you. I know that wasn't necessary and detracts a bit, but I like having fun, damn it, and this episode is all about having literally too much fun dancing, so indulge me. With that out of the way, I do have a very fun episode for you all today, and I'm so excited to share it with you, because for me, just reading and learning about it was amazing. Learning about this crazy outbreak of a dancing plague, and people going outside during Christmas, other holidays, just random days, and dancing until they actually just drop fucking dead was nuts. So as mentioned in the cold open, we'll be first going over what Europe was like during this time and some important facts to know, and then exploring each of these cases. Going over some first and secondhand accounts about the events. Primarily secondhand accounts, because the firsthand accounts were kind of hard to find and get. And it was mostly through the Catholic Church. And you know how them and the truth is just, they're so good. They're so good at it. Also, reading Latin is hard. I mean, I could have translated to English. There's a couple that I did, I didn't, but other people did. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So after that, then we will go over what the current consensus is as to what happened to cause this dancing plague, and lastly, we'll be going over the historic conspiracies surrounding this event. Which, if you listen to Lavinia Fisher, you know what historic conspiracies is. It's another part of the show. So enough prelude. Let's dig into today's historical quarrel. You are listening to Historical Quarrels. So as we all know, during the Middle Ages, Europe was a complete shithole. Literally, just filled with peasant shit all the time. Sorry, there's a hard open right there. Just wanted to really shock people. But no, during the Middle Ages, Europe was a patchwork of feudal territories governed by local lords and monarchs. The power structures were predominantly decentralized, meaning it's just kind of like anyone's game for a lot of shit, and peasants were really just fucked over all the time. As with the Holy Roman Empire in Central Europe playing a significant role in political affairs, though its influence waned over time considerably. Notably, in the 14th century, Europe was under the dominion of various rulers such as Edward III of England and Philip VI of France, who were embroiled in conflicts like the Hundred Years' War, which took place in 1337 to 1453. These conflicts, besides causing widespread destruction, also fostered conditions of hardship and instability, which definitely did not contribute at all to anyone just going fucking crazy, and just deciding to go out one day and start dancing and, dance until their feet bled because their mind snapped or something. Totally didn't happen. Didn't contribute to that at all. As religiously, Europe was predominantly Christian, and the church held immense power over social norms and values. Imagine Utah, but the entire country was Utah, and the LDS church was in charge. That's what Europe was like during this time. So this era saw significant religious movements, including the Crusades from 1096 to 1291, that was aimed at reclaiming the Holy Land from Muslim control, because Europeans were the inheritors of that land, and that's who Jesus wanted to give the land to, not people from there, saving his people or anything like that. Anyways, and later, the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century, which challenged the Catholic Church's authority and led to the establishment of Protestant churches, which, if you want to learn more about that, I kind of go over that in my America's Origins quarrel. I definitely get into it quite a bit more there. But religious fervor and the fear of divine wrath or possession definitely could have influenced the outbreaks of dancing mania. We'll kind of get into this later, but there are a bunch of accounts that suggest these people had a fear of being possessed by a demon, and so they had this preconception or notion in their mind of what possession is supposed to look like, and it turned into dancing. Possibly. The Black Death, moving on. The Black Death from 1347 to 1351 was another pivotal event that decimated nearly a third of Europe's population. Which, my mind wouldn't snap if I lost a third of all the people I knew. Definitely, I'd be completely normal. Anyways, this pandemic created a pervasive atmosphere of death and despair, significantly impacting the social and economic fabric of Europe. The repeated occurrences of plague and other diseases throughout this period definitely could have contributed to the mass hysteria and psychological distress, which may have manifested in dancing plagues. And we'll go into it a little more. I just kind of want to make sure that people have this. I want you guys to have this understanding that Europe sucked ass. And so dying by dancing to death was probably preferable over a bunch of other ways that you could have died. Speaking of death, another way to die was being poor. So economically, Europe transitioned from a predominantly agrarian society to one more focused on trade and commerce, especially from the late Middle Age onwards. Towns and cities grew in importance as commercial and cultural hubs, Regions like Flanders and the Italian city states became wealthy through trade, influencing the Renaissance, a period of renewed interest in the arts, sciences, exploration. I'm positive you know what the Renaissance is. In case you didn't, I don't know. It's just there for people who are like, "Well, what does he mean by Renaissance? I don't know that word. How dare you try to explain that word to me without not explaining it?" Sorry, my brains. I'm a little all over the place today. Forgive me. I'm having fun today. So, anyways, economic disparities and the hardships of peasant life, including famine and taxation, would have contributed to social tenses evident in the dancing plagues, which go into quite a bit more. Culturally, the period saw the emergence of the Renaissance in the 14th century, which originated in Italy, spread across Europe. It was a time of significant cultural, artistic, and intellectual revival, with figures like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo symbolizing the era's achievements. The Renaissance encouraged a new humanistic approach to learning, yet superstition and belief in the supernatural remained widespread. And by the time the big outbreak in 1518 happens, the humanism and this whole, well, I mean, is God really, is he the end all be all? Or do we need to figure some shit out? Wasn't quite there. Speaking of death, another way to die was being poor. So economically, Europe transitioned from a predominantly agrarian society to one more focused on trade and commerce, especially from the late Middle Age onwards. Towns and cities grew in importance as commercial and cultural hubs. Regions like Flanders and the Italian city-states became wealthy through trade, influencing the Renaissance, a period of renewed interest in the arts, sciences, exploration. I'm positive you know what the Renaissance is. In case you didn't, I don't know. It's just there for people who are like, "Well, what does he mean by Renaissance? I don't know that word. How dare you try to explain that word to me without not explaining it?" Sorry, my brains. I'm a little all over the place today. Forgive me. I'm having fun today. So, anyways, economic disparities and the hardships of peasant life, including famine and taxation, would have contributed to social tenses evident in the dancing plagues, which go into quite a bit more. Culturally, the period saw the emergence of the Renaissance in the 14th century, which originated in Italy, spread across Europe. It was a time of significant cultural, artistic, and intellectual revival, with figures like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo symbolizing the era's achievements. The Renaissance encouraged a new humanistic approach to learning, yet superstition and belief in the supernatural remained widespread. And by the time the big outbreak in 1518 happens, the humanism and this whole, well, I mean, is God really, is he the end all be all? Or do we need to figure some shit out? Wasn't quite there. You could say it was encroaching, but not enough people had taken to those thoughts yet. The town of Strasbourg, which is one of the most famous outbreaks in 1518, was an influential free city within the Holy Roman Empire. It was a commercial and cultural center known for its trade fairs and hub of humanist thought. However, it also faced economic hardship and social strife, conditions ripe for the outbreaks of mass hysteria, such as the dancing plague. So, in really understanding Europe during the 11th, or even pre-11th, because this is kind of just how it's been for a while, up to the 18th centuries, requires recognizing it as a period of profound change, marked by a bunch of political upheavals, religious transformations, people getting poorer, and then less poor, and then poor again, and reoccurring health crises constantly. People living during this time in this area had it bad. It sucked. So a mass hysteria phenomenon like the dancing plague is possible. And the outbreaks really did occur. This isn't just a question of, did it actually happen? No, these happened. And I would be remiss to not mention St-Vitus, who this plague is named after. The dancing plague, or St-Vitus's plague, is based off of him. And so let's go ahead and get into his story. So, Vitus, or Vitus, whose name is sometimes rendered as Guy or Guido, was a Christian martyr from Sicily. His surviving hagiography is pure legend. The dates of his actual life are unknown. He has for long been tied to the Sicilian martyrs Modestus and Crescenta, but in the earliest sources, it is clear that these were originally different traditions that later became combined, and also that the figures are more than likely fictitious. So, according to his legend, though, he died during the Diocletic persecution in AD 303 in the Middle Ages. He was counted as one of the 14 Holy Helpers, which they are a group of saints venerated together by Catholics because their intercession is believed to be particularly effective. You know, getting them to talk to or plead to God on your behalf is like a lawyer, essentially. These are the guys you go to. These are the top tier lawyers for you, and like in between you and God. He's one of those top tier guys. So in Germany, his feast was celebrated with dancing before a statue. The dancing became popular, and the name St-Vitus dance was given to the neurological disorder of Sydenham's chorea. It's also known as a rheumatic chorea. It's a disorder characterized by rapid, uncoordinated jerking movements, primarily affecting the face, hands, and feet. To get you going like, bah, bam, I'm doing jazz hands. Yeah, it's jazz hands. It makes you do jazz hands and do some weird shit. But it's an autoimmune disease that results from a childhood infection. So, maybe I shouldn't be making fun of it, but fuck it. It also led to Vitus being considered the patron saint of dancers and of entertainers in general. He's also said to protect against lightning strikes, animal attacks, and oversleeping. So, if you're struggling not waking up at like 5 in the morning to go to the gym, you pray to this guy. He'll help you get ripped, bro. And also, dancing, and you won't get like struck by lightning. So good for him. You won't get smitten down by God. Probably why he's one of the 14 holy helpers. His feast day is celebrated on the 15th of June in places where the Julian calendar is used. The date coincides in the 20th and 21st centuries with the 28th of June on the Gregorian calendar being the, supposed date. So, that brings us to an important bit here. Because you may be asking, like, why exactly is the patron saint of dance, even with, like, the syndrome? There is another potential reason why. And it's because St. Vitus, like many Catholic priests, was a bit of a sexual recluse, according to Dr. Robert J. Goodrich, in his article titled The Unconventional Patron of Dance, where we learned this. Navigating through the nuanced legacy of St. Vitus requires delving into the depths of historical interpretation and legend, especially when considering the unconventional aspects attributed to his veneration. Vitus, renowned for his statues as a Christian martyr and the patron saint of dancers, presents a complex figure when examined through the prism of deviancy and promiscuity. Ooh. Particularly in the context of dance and its place within the religious and cultural practices of the time. The inception of St. Vitus's association with dance offers an intriguing perspective on the integration of physical expression within religious veneration. Reports and legends suggest that Vitus encouraged the clergy to engage in dance as a form of worship and spiritual ecstasy. This encouragement, which starkly contrasts with the traditional ecclesiastical stance on bodily restraint, hints at a radical reimagining of religious expression. Vitus's encouragement of dance among the clergy, often portrayed in the context of festivals and religious celebrations, pushes the boundaries of conventional sanctity. The notion of clergy performing dances that could be construed as exotic or sensual in nature raises questions about the fluidity of sacred and profane boundaries within early Christian communities. Such activities, conducted under the guise of religious devotion, suggest a complex interplay between piety and sensuality. The role of Vitus as a spectator to these performances, this guy was just straight up like making his clergy do stripteases in front of him. This This introduces another layer of complexity to his veneration. Reports of Vitus watching behind closed doors, an act imbued with an air of secrecy and voyeurism, challenge the image of the saint as a mere facilitator of religious expression. Instead, this behavior paints him as an active participant in a ritual that blurs the lines between devotion and desire. He is like, yeah, strip for God, but also for me. This blending of roles between the observer and the observed, the sacred and profane, reflects a nuanced understanding of religious experience. The act of watching, especially within the context of exotic dancing by the clergy, implies a recognition of the power of visual and bodily expression as conduits for spiritual engagement and possibly personal gratification. Essentially saying there's no accounts of this guy like straight up, jacking off onto the clergy here, but you never know. The encouragement of such performances alongside Vitus's own role as a spectator may suggest an attempt to redefine the parameters of religious and moral acceptability by positioning dance, and specifically dance that veers into the realms of the exotic and sensual, as a legitimate form of worship. Vitus challenges the aesthetic norms that often characterized early Christian piety. This redefinition of piety, however, comes with its own set of implications for the understanding of sanctity and deviancy. And by blurring the distinctions between sacred ritual and profane entertainment, Vitus's legacy invites a reevaluation of the criteria by which religious behaviors are judged. So, just kind of going into it. But really, here, it's the act of observing these performances hints at a voyeuristic dimension to religious leadership that is rarely acknowledged in hagiographies. This dimension, when applied to Vitus, raises questions about the motivations behind such endorsements of dance, and whether they stem from a genuine desire for spiritual exploration or other more personal interests. So yeah, he could have just been a bit of a freak. But one of the first outbreaks of St. Vitus's dance occurred sometime in the 1020s. There's other examples of it happening in the 700s, but there wasn't a lot on it. And by that, I could not find any other accounts besides a book that offhand reference that it happened. And that was it. So I tried my best, but whatever. But in the 1020s, in Bernburg, Germany, 18 peasants distributed a Christmas Eve service and singing and dancing around the church. In a story reminiscent of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, a large group of children jumped and danced all the way from Erfurt to Arnstadt in 1237 as well. And this was the first ever recorded outbreak of that happening. It was a distance of nearly 13 miles too. So imagine just a bunch of fucking kids straight up dancing for 13 miles. Just jumping and hopping the entire time. It's crazy. It's nuts. And then in 1238, 200 people jumped, twitched, and convulsed on a bridge over the river Meuse until it collapsed. They literally were jumping and dancing until they made the bridge break. The survivors were taken to a nearby chapel of St. Vitus, or Vitus, the patron saint of epileptics. Many would not be fully restored to her health until September. There's a long recovery period there. But the first ever recorded outbreak of choreomania took place in 1374 in villages along the Rhine River. Hundreds of people were seized by an agonizing compulsion to dance. They needed to dance and get it out, man. The mania would spread across Western Europe, affecting people in France and Netherlands before subsiding. And remember, during this time, this is a little bit after many of these people just got done with the Black Death and lost a third of the people they knew, or their whole family. They more than likely mentally snapped. This is nuts. And then in 1518, we have perhaps the biggest event here. It all began when a woman named Frau Trophea started dancing fervently. And this was in July of 1518 to September 1518 in the Holy Roman Empire in Strasbourg. Hey guys, this is Tyler cutting in. I don't know why I'm saying my name again, but Quarrel Daddy Tyler. Uh, Basically, all of my audio got corrupted, and while I was trying to edit, nothing was working. It's something to do with like converting a .mkv file into a .wav file. It just can cause some complications and really fuck up like that, how things are synced, or like it'll just loop back to an old section, which if you listen to all of Lavinia Fisher in that episode, at the very end there it happens, and I didn't catch it when I was recording because I was like trying to get the editing done as fast as possible. So I biffed it on that. I'm trying to make sure that I don't repeat that mistake, and so that's why I'm cutting in today. I do not have time to go and re-record everything before this episode releases. I am so sorry. I promised you guys that I really want to do better with this show, but this, I have, not to give excuses, but more like explaining, this is not a full-time job. This is something I do for fun, on the side. I really do want this show to grow, so I want to make sure that I release episodes weekly. And honestly, like, I feel like I could have done a little better anyways with this episode. And so I'm going to I gave you a little taste. This is a little preview essentially for next week. So, and then I promise that this is not going to happen again. I refuse to let this happen again. If I had more time, I would have just re-recorded everything, but I really don't. I have family obligations. I have friend obligations, and I'm already like stressed out and like cut for time as is. So I'm just asking for a little bit of forgiveness from you guys this week. Hopefully the bits that I did do and I was able to get out today worked for you guys. And again, it kind of felt a little disjointed to me anyway. So I think just give myself enough time to kind of go in and just rewrite some stuff, or giving it a bit more of a cohesive little feel to it will be better. Again, I am so sorry. I do not have enough time. I'm gonna cut this short because like I gotta go right now. But I do love and respect you guys, and I will do better, and I'll produce better content and better show. Just shit happens, man. It all got corrupted. And the .wav files, I'm still trying to figure out if I can like uncorrupt them, and then I don't know if I can figure that out. Probably losing a little bit of sleep tonight. Then I don't know. Then you'll never hear this. But if I don't, then you're hearing this. So sorry. But you guys, again, appreciate you. I appreciate my listeners. You will get a full episode on this, and I promise it will be better. And since I'm gonna have extra time now to rewrite some stuff, it's gonna be way tighter, way crisper. It's gonna be real nice. I promise lots of laughs. So be prepared for that. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.